I wish to inform all interested persons in our audience that for petitions on tonight's agenda which involve a question of zoning, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council, and the City Council, after holding their own public hearing, will make the final determination as to whether a petition is approved or denied. The Planning Commission holds the only public hearing on requests for preliminary plats and/or vacating petitions. The Commission's recommendation is forwarded to the City Council for the final determination as to whether the petition is accepted or rejected. If a petition requesting a waiver of use or a site plan is denied tonight, the petitioner will have 10 days in which to appeal the decision in writing to City Council. Resolutions adopted by the City Planning Commission will become effective 7 days after the date of adoption. The Planning Commission and professional staff have reviewed each of these petitions upon their filing. The staff has furnished the Commission with both approving and denying resolutions, which the Commission may or may not use depending on the outcome of the proceedings tonight. If our Secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. Smiley.
Present.
Mrs. McHugh.
Here.
Mr. Bonjero.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Ventura is absent. Caramagno is here. Chairman Wolshaw.
Is here. And also with us tonight, we have Mark Taormina and Stephanie Reese from our Planning Department. For the folks in our audience, what the format of this meeting will be that we will read each of these agenda items. We'll get background information on the items from our planning staff. We'll give an opportunity for the petitioner to come forward and speak to their item, and then if there's anyone else wishing to speak for or against, they can also come forward after that. And I do want to let the folks in our audience who are watching this meeting know, either online or in person, that item number 2, the petitioner has requested that the item be tabled, so we will be taking that action once we get to that item. So with that, we will start with item number 1 on the public hearing section of our agenda.
Petition 2022-05-01-01 submitted by Nofar Hotel Group pursuant to sections 13.13 and 13.15 of the Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance as amended, requesting to rezone the property at 31501 Schoolcraft Road, located on the south side of Schoolcraft Road between Merriman and Hubbard, in the northeast quarter of Section 27 from C3 Highway Services to C4 High-Rise Commercial.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Taormina.
Thank you. This rezoning petition involves the site of the former Mountain Jack's Restaurant, which is located at Schoolcraft and Merriman Roads. The site was originally developed in the early 1980s by Chuck Muir. Following the closure of the restaurant in the early 2000s, the building was later converted to a cosmetology school called L.L.C.requesting. And then after the closure of L.L.C., the building has remained vacant ever since. The purpose of the rezoning is to facilitate the future development of the property with a 4-story Staybridge Suites Hotel. Under section 6.30 of the zoning ordinance, hotels are treated as a permitted use in both the C3 and the C4 zoning districts. However, one major difference is between the two districts, and which necessitates the zoning change, is the maximum permitted building height. In a C3 district, buildings cannot exceed a height of 35 feet or 2 stories, and in a C4 zone, on the other hand, buildings can be up to 4 stories in height. So if the rezoning is approved, the petitioner intends to proceed through the site plan approval process to build a 4-story hotel. This is a flag-shaped parcel. It's not directly located on the corner, but it does contain frontage on both Schoolcraft and Merriman Roads. The frontage on Schoolcraft measures approximately 397 feet, and along Merriman, the frontage is 66 feet, which provides secondary access to the site. Located directly at the intersection of Schoolcraft and Merriman is a gas station. The proposed hotel site totals 103,000 square feet, or roughly 2.37 acres. To the south and west are industrial uses zoned M2, and then north across Schoolcraft and the expressway are commercial uses that front along westbound Schoolcraft Road. The existing vacant building is about 7,748 square feet in size, and it's surrounded on 3 sides by parking. Access to the site is provided by 2 driveways, one from Schoolcraft and one from Merriman. The existing building would be removed and the site completely redeveloped. The new 4-story hotel, as you can see from this site plan, would be positioned near the center of the property facing Schoolcraft Road and the expressway. Each floor would measure about 17,500 square feet for a total gross floor area of 70,000 square feet. The number of keys would be 94. The first floor would contain 10 guest suites, as well as a great room and common living area, a pantry, lobby area, offices, fitness center, and both guest and hotel laundry rooms. And the layout of the second, third, and fourth floors would be similar, each containing about 28 guest suites. For hotels, the required parking is based on a ratio of 1 space for every guest room plus 1 space for each employee. At this time, the number of employees is not known, but the number of rooms alone would require 94 parking spaces. The plans show 96 available off-street parking spaces. Access would basically remain the same with the 2 driveways, one from Schoolcraft and the other from Merriman. The only change is that the existing western drive off Schoolcraft would be shifted more to the west and relocated closer to the northwest corner of the site. Preliminary building plans show the structure would consist of a combination of EIFS metal panels as well as stone and a tile material. The future land use plan does designate the property as tech and manufacturing. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to read out the correspondence.
Yes, please.
We have a letter coming from the Engineering Division dated June 6th that reads, in accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed rezoning at this time. The proposed project parcel is assigned the address of 31501 Schoolcraft Road. The existing building is currently serviced by public water main, storm and sanitary sewer. The drawings do not include calculations for sanitary sewer and water main usage, so impacts to the existing systems cannot be determined at this time. The submitted drawings do not include any storm sewer calculations or indicate any proposed stormwater detention. Please note that any new development will be required to meet the latest version of the Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance, including detention, which we will review when the engineering drawings are submitted for permitting. It should be noted that the developer may be required to obtain a permit from the Wayne County Department of Public Works should any work occur within the Merriman Road right-of-way. That letter is signed by David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. Next, we have a letter dated June 3rd, coming from the Department of Finance, They indicate that they have no objections to the proposal as there are no outstanding amounts receivable, general or water and sewer. That letter is signed by Connie Compula, Chief Accountant. And lastly, a letter of no objection dated June the 6th, coming from the Office of the Treasurer and signed by Linda Shield, Treasurer of the City of Livonia. And that is the extent of the correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Taormina. Do we have any questions for our planning staff? I don't see any questions. Our petitioner is in the audience. If you'd like to come forward to our podium and introduce yourself with your name and address, please.
Good evening, Planning Commission members. I'm Brian Biskiner from Powell Engineering, 4700 Cornerstone Drive, White Lake, Michigan. I'm here with the owners this evening, and Mark did an outstanding job, obviously, going over the project summary. We're here to answer any questions that you have. I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miskiner. As we always like to remind everyone as we deal with these items, because this is a rezoning, we're going to be talking mostly about the zoning of this property at this time. There won't be a lot of discussion about the actual building and the materials and so on. That'll take place at the site plan, which will come at a future date. So with that, do we have any questions from any of our commissioners for our petitioner?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Bonjero,
just one quick question. Do you currently own this property?
if you'd like to come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, I do. My name is Robert Nofar.
Okay, so it's not like pending
No.
if the outcome here? Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see if there's some other questions. Mrs. McHugh?
Just for clarification for everybody else, can you talk to us about the other hotels you own in the area and surrounding areas?
Sure. We own the Holland Express in Livonia, the one off of Schoolcraft and I-96 and Inkster Road. We've owned that since 2017. We also own a Brighton Hotel. It's called the Courtyard Marriott. That's probably the closest property to that location. And the rest are pretty much between Roseville, Lapeer, Lansing. We are acquiring a couple more properties, but we're not, talking about it right now. So we have properties in Indiana and in Ohio.
I just wanted to clarify that this is not your first or
No,
your
no.
only. Okay, thank
30
you.
years in the business.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nofar. Mrs. Smiley?
Yes, first of all, we need your address for the record, and then could you tell me, the Stay Bridge, that's different from a Marriott or a Holiday Inn, or what's the difference?
Okay, my address is 50558 Drakes Bay Drive, Novi.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the Staybridge Suites is mainly for extended stay corporate guests that want to stay long-term. It could be 5, 7, a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on what calls for that area at the time when whatever guest comes in. And in regards to as far as what it competes with, it's head-on with like a Hilton Homewood Suites
Okay.
or a Marriott Residence Inn. It's in that same level on capacity.
Because I noticed you had washers and dryers and stuff
Correct.
downstairs.
Yeah, it's an extended
Yeah,
stay
but,
brand.
will you be serving, do you have a restaurant in there?
We won't have a restaurant, but we will be offering continental breakfast, buffet breakfast type of deal for all our guests. We don't charge for it.
And so they have some kind of a kitchen area in there?
Yes, we will
Okay.
have a kitchen.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, Ms. Smiley. Any other questions for our petitioner? Mr. Caramagno?
Sir, I know I've asked this before. What is why another hotel in this area? Is there a demand for hotel and long-term stay? What is, tell me a little more about that.
Well, the demand is for the extended stay guests. There really isn't that much good extended stay brands in the area, in that vicinity. And we are getting a lot of calls from our sister property, which is the Holiday Inn Express off of Inkster. And the franchise actually approached us and said that they're getting a lot of hits for a Staybridge Suites in that area. And they did their own feasibility study, their marketing study and so forth. So it was a lot of work involved to find out if it was feasible to do something like this.
So the feasibility study from Staybridge or the corporate Staybridge folks said there's demand. We need to have something in the area, and that's, they came to you with that, and then you did your research?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, it's good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for our petitioner? I don't see any other questions. Just one question, Mr. Nofar. This property and also the Holiday Inn are ran by the same parent overarching company, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's opportunity for people who use reward points and things like that to transition from one property to another, and because they're already familiar with the area and your other property, correct?
That's correct. Actually, we get so many people that want to stay long-term. They prefer to have like a studio suite type of deal room. We can't accommodate. So they end up going either to Farmington Hills or Northville or in those areas. So it does need a good extended stay brand in that location. We also cater from downtown. A lot of guests that come in from downtown, they prefer to stay in an urban area, not an urban area, more of a suburban area because of all the busyness and so forth. They want to be close to work, but at the same time, they don't want to pay the high parking, prices over there. Sometimes the prices over there are, a lot higher. So we can accommodate better for them as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions from any of our commissioners for our petitioner? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak for or against this petition? I don't see anyone else coming forward. Mr. Nofar, if you just want to stay there for one moment, we'll get a motion and see how this goes.
Okay.
I'll close the public hearing at this time, and a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. McHugh.
I'd like to offer an approving resolution that the request to rezone the property at 31501 Schoolcraft Road from C3 to C4 is hereby approved, subject to city council approval for the following reasons. That the proposed changes of zoning is compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land uses and zoning districts in the area. That the proposed change of zoning and the intended use of the property are consistent with the developing character of the area. That the proposed change of zoning will provide the development of the subject property in a manner that is consistent with its size and location. That the proposed zoning is consistent with the purposes, goals, and objectives of the master plan and zoning ordinance, which seek to ensure compatibility and appropriateness of land uses, so as to enhance property values and create and promote a more favorable environment for neighborhood use and enjoyment. And that the proposed change of zoning represents a reasonable and logical zoning plan for the subject property, which adheres to the principles of sound land use planning.
All right, is there support for that motion?
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. McHugh, supported by Mr. Bonjero. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, if the secretary is ready, please call a roll on the motion to approve.
Ms. McHugh.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mrs. Smiley.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Caramagno votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye. Motion passes. We'll go to City Council with approving recommendation.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
sir,
thank
and
you.
we look forward to seeing your site plan.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. That takes us to item number 2 on our agenda.
Which is petition 2021-08-02-14, submitted by Ally Saad, requesting waiver use approval of all plans required by sections 3.10, 3.11, and 6.51 of the Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance as amended in connection with a proposal to construct a single commercial building containing 2 limited service restaurants with drive-through facilities at 20365 and 20385 Middlebelt Road, located on the west side of Middlebelt Road between Norfolk and 8 Mile Road in the northeast quarter of Section 2.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Now, again, just to remind the folks in our audience, I know a few people came in after the meeting started. The petitioner has requested that this item be tabled. So we're not going to conduct a full public hearing at this point, most likely. But what we will do is we will repost this meeting at a future date, and we will conduct a full public hearing with an opportunity for the petitioner to present his case and also for anyone in the audience who comes to that meeting to also speak to the item. And anyone who did receive a notification for that meeting, for this meeting tonight, will also receive a notification for that meeting in the future. Mr. Taormina, is there any other information you wanted to provide before we move forward?
No, Mr. Chairman, again, we will re-advertise this item when the petitioner has resubmitted the documentation that was requested.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that, Mr. Taormina. Any of our commissioners have any questions on this item?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Long.
I don't know if any of the people in the audience are here for it, but if they're here and they want to speak, I think we should give them a couple minutes to do so.
I think that's very fair, because they did come tonight, and this is a public hearing still. So if there is anyone in our audience who does wish to speak on this item at this point, we don't have a lot of information yet, but you are welcome to come forward and speak if you wish. If not, we will certainly give you an opportunity in the future. I don't see anyone standing up or coming forward, but thank you for coming tonight, and also thank you, Mr. Long, for reminding us of that. If there is no further information or questions on this item, a motion would be in order.
Move, we table,
Okay, Mr. Long's moved for tabling
date uncertain.
to a date uncertain, supported by,
Support.
Smiley?
I got Mrs. Smiley first. So there is no discussion. This is a motion to table by Mr. Long and Mrs. Smiley. And there is no discussion on tabling motions. If the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mrs. Smiley.
Aye.
Mrs. McHugh.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Caramagno votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye, and that motion to table has been approved. Again, for our folks in the audience, you will be notified of a future meeting. If you're not on the notification list, you can contact the city planning department and make sure that you are put on that list. Thank you for coming. And with that, we'll move on to item number 3 on our agenda.
Petition 2022-06-02-14, submitted by Stark Road Holdings LLC, requesting special waiver use approval for planned development under sections 3.04 and 5.02 of the Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance as amended to utilize a Class C liquor license, sale of beer, wine, and spirits for consumption on the premises in connection with the operation of a multipurpose recreational facility, Livonia Athletic District at 14255 Stark Road, located on the west side of Stark Road between Schoolcraft and Linden Avenue in the southeast quarter of Section 21.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Taormina?
Thank you. Again, this is a special waiver use approval request to operate a Class C liquor license. The location is the site of the former YMCA on Stark Road, now operating as the Livonia Athletic District, a privately owned multi-purpose health, fitness, and athletic facility. The property is zoned N2 Neighborhood District. Utilization of a Class C license is possible under Section 5.02, which provides special waiver use standards for planned developments that allow modifications of the ordinance for uses not permitted in an N2 district. Uses other than those permitted may be allowed when they relate to an overall concept of a planned development and meet the requirements of Section 5.024, including the proposed use, shall be of such location, size, and character as to be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the zoning district in which situated, and shall not be detrimental to the orderly development of adjacent zoning districts. The subject property is 9.6 acres in size with 350 feet of frontage on the west side of Stark Road. The various interconnected buildings that make up the LAD are located on the easterly half of the property. The westerly half is mostly wooded and undeveloped. The surrounding land uses include Frost Middle School to the south and John Stilmelski Veterans Park to the north, Ford Field and single-family homes located to the east, and then Parkville Memorial Cemetery and single-family homes to the west. The Livonia Athletic District would restrict the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages to specific interior areas of the building. Consumption would be allowed in what is referred to as Cafe LAD, which is a lounge located in the building's main lobby. It would also be allowed in the coin-operated arcade room, which is in what was formerly the YMCA's administrative offices located adjacent to the main lobby, as well as the observation lounge overlooking the former tennis courts, which are now an indoor soccer field, the sitting areas adjacent to the golf simulators and indoor putting green, which are the former racquetball courts, the eastern observation area of the pickleball courts, and then the connecting hallways between these various areas. The point of sales locations would be in the Cafe LAD and a lounge located adjacent to the indoor putting green. Alcohol would not be allowed in any of the playing surfaces. There are special requirements that relate to the consumption of alcohol. One is that a Class C licensed establishment shall not be located within 1,000 feet of another such licensed establishment. There are no such licensed establishments within 1,000 feet of the proposed planned development. Additionally, another special requirement specifies that a proposed Class C licensed establishment shall be located at least 400 feet distant from any church or school building. This is measured building to building. No such establishments are within 400 feet of this planned development, measured at the closest points between the buildings. Livonia Athletic District is 447 feet from Frost Middle School and 956 from Christ Our Savior Lutheran Church, as well as the Early Childhood Center. Now with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to read out the correspondence on this item.
Yes, please.
First item is from our Department of Public Works Engineering Division dated June 22nd, and it reads, the existing building is currently serviced by water main, storm, and sanitary sewer. The drawings do not indicate any alterations to the existing services, so we do not anticipate any issues with the proposed waiver use. It should be noted that should the owner need to modify any of the existing utilities or do any work within the Stark Road right-of-way, drawings will need to be submitted to this department to determine if permits will be required. That letter is signed by David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. Next is a letter dated July 8th from the Livonia Fire and Rescue that reads, this office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with a request to construct a commercial building on property located at the above referenced address. We have no objections with the proposal with the following stipulations. On the submitted plans, please include the nearest fire hydrant locations. This site may require an automatic sprinkler system based on A2, A3 use. Hydrant shall be located between 50 and 100 feet from the fire department connection, NFPA 14, 2019, 6.4, 5.4. A further detailed plan review will take place when this division receives an official plan set. And that letter is signed by Brian Kukla, Senior Fire Inspector. Next is a letter of no objection coming from the Division of Police dated July 11th and signed by Scott Shapansky, Sergeant of the Traffic Bureau. Similar letter of no objection coming from the Inspection Department dated July 11th and signed by Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. Next, we have a letter from the Department of Finance dated July 1st that reads, I have reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. The following amounts are due to the City of Livonia. Unpaid water and sewer charges in the amount of $4,309.84. Unpaid delinquent false alarm charges in the amount of $660.70. Total due to the City of Livonia, $4,970.54. Please contact me should you have any questions. And that letter is signed by Connie Compula, Chief Accountant. Next, we have a letter dated June 20th, coming from the Office of the Treasurer, that reads, in accordance with your request, the Treasurer's Office has reviewed the name and addresses connected with the above noted petition. At this time, there are delinquent taxes due, therefore I do have objections to the proposal. 2021 real property winter taxes. Winter bill issued on December 1st, 2021, good through June 30th, 2022, in the amount of $53,332.62, payable to Wayne County Treasurer. We do not show any payments have been made towards this bill, either with the City of Livonia prior to March 1st, nor with Wayne County since March 1st. That letter is signed by Linda Shield, Treasurer of the City of Livonia. And lastly, a letter, again from the Division of Police dated July 8th, reading, we received the plan submitted by Stark Road Holdings LLC requesting special waiver use approval for a plan development under sections 304 and 502 of the Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance to utilize a Class C liquor license, sale of beer, wine, and spirits for consumption on the premises in connection with the operation of a multi-purpose recreational facility, Livonia Athletic District at 14255 Stark Road. The proposed site is in close proximity to Frost Middle School at 14041 Stark, 444 feet, but does meet the separation requirement distance of at least 400 feet distant from any school or church. After reviewing the plans with the Chief of Police, we have no objections to the waiver being granted, contingent that the petitioner complies with all state laws, city ordinances, stipulations and conditions set by the Livonia Police Department, the Liquor Investigation Unit as approved by the Chief of Police, and stipulations and conditions set by the Traffic Bureau of the Livonia Police Department. We are available to provide any additional information you may desire on this subject. Sincerely, Jeffrey Ronayne, Special Services Bureau, on behalf of the Chief of Police. And that is the extent of the correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taormina. Any questions for our planning staff?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bonjero?
Mark, you said, you had, there was correspondence from the fire chief. I don't have it in my packet, so.
Yeah, I read that. It's part of our packet, and going back to that
What was that?
letter, I know that they reference construction, even though there's no construction.
Did I understand they were saying?
Really required, not any new construction, other than maybe some minor building, interior modifications. Yeah, they indicate certain, do you want that letter read
Yeah,
again?
did I understand they're talking about fire suppression needed inside the building?
Yeah, I'm not sure that this is gonna trigger the need, quite frankly. That's
Okay.
something that they would have to review.
Okay,
Yeah, I would have to discuss this with the senior fire inspector to see whether or not the work that is proposed is going to
that would certainly be a lot
require
of,
any additional fire suppression or safety measures.
yeah, it'd be a lot of work to have to try to retrofit that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I guess I had one other question would be, has the petitioner made any type of arrangements for these back fees, water, sewer, and taxes?
I'm gonna let the petitioner respond to that question. I'm not aware of any, but that doesn't mean that there hasn't been some discussions in that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. We'll ask the petitioner that when he gets a opportunity to come forward. It'll be just a minute. Is there any other questions for our planning staff? Okay, no other questions for our planning staff, so now our petitioner is up. We'll give him a minute to get over to our podium. And again, we'll ask that you start with your name and address, and good evening.
Good evening. Jonathan Hartzell, 31196 Churchill Drive, Beverly Hills.
Okay, and you did hear a question regarding the payment of some back property taxes and other fees. Did you want to address that first, and then you can get into any other presentation you'd like to make?
Sure, wonderful. Yeah, we'll set up a payment plan with the city, try to get it all knocked out before October 1st. I'm not sure who to talk to. I'll just talk to the treasurer on that, I guess. Just set up a schedule payment plan, I guess.
Okay. All right, any other information you'd like to provide before we get into questions?
No, I think let's just go to questions. We had a good session last week, and I assume you guys still have some questions from there, so I'd like to just hear from you guys, and I'll
Okay,
respond from that.
that sounds great. Any questions for our petitioner? Mrs. Smiley?
Yes, could you tell me where those, the stations would be located that they're able to get drinks or beer or wine or whatever?
Sure. Right when you walk in, on the entryway where your mouses go north, I guess, above the batting cages, there's an entryway there. You see a vestibule, and right there, right to the left of or to the right of that, you can see a little L-shaped mill package to the left of your mouse. Right there is your kiosk for your little cafe space. And then in front of that big open space in front is a little dining seating space where you can sit and partake. That's kind of the hub of the building. So if you walk in and turn to the right, you're going to get to office space and health quest, physical therapy, and another suite not finished. If you had walked straight and gone through the door in front of it, you get to the pool space. And if you walk left and go down, you get to the soccer sports space. So that kind of main common core where you're rubbing the mouse and down the core, that's the real drinking facility and space. So you can go and watch sport happen. You can sit and dine after a workout right there. And there's an arcade right there to entertain in. Then as we're asking for the rights to have in the dogleg simulator, that's a future tenant space. So we're just that's their build plan, is to put golf simulators and a little lounge in there. But that'll be a secondary permit for them. We just want to make sure we have the right to, have the use in that space. And then to the left, I guess, bottom left, all the way down there, you can see by the bathrooms, there's a little, the pickleball courts are all to the left of the dotted line, and any space between the dotted line and the doorway is kind of a lounge space where there's just a seated area, and there's an opportunity to sit and have a cocktail. And there's a little room there, it's by itself, that's set up as a little lounge with couch and chairs to congregate between matches.
So there's really 3 places, so you all personnel in all those places, checking ID and all
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm familiar with, I know that we have a place that has golf simulators, and they have parties and stuff, but it's like one section, it's a one unit in a shopping mall. I'm familiar with that. I'm not familiar with this setup. But as one commissioner, until that 58,000 is paid, I don't think I'm interested in approving any kind of liquor sale
All right.
or license, okay?
Thank you, Mrs. Smiley. Any other questions for our petitioner, Mrs. McHugh?
Just to double click on the staffing of those items. So you're gonna have 3 individuals at all times, or will those places not be open at all times?
Yeah, some might not be open, and it just depends on the time of day.
Because the logistics, obviously, as we know, I'm singing to the choir, right? But having alcohol is gonna have to be manned. That always kind of makes me a little panicked when you have a lot of kids running around there too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd have it under control, but just having 3 separate individuals that are gonna strictly be in charge of alcohol sales, from a logistics standpoint, that seems like a lot.
Yeah, so I own a place called Detroit Shipping Company. It's a 12,000 square foot, 2-story food hall. It's got 6 food vendors. We have 4 different points of sale of beer, wine, liquor, right? There's a backyard which has a sand volleyball pit. It's very family friendly. I kind of built it around. I have 4 children, and when you go to Detroit City, there's nowhere ever to go with your kids. It's really hard. It's kind of built this, and if you ever go there, you'll see kids are kind of running around all over the place. Families, big family gathering space, and there's 4 different points of sale of liquor there, and we're controlled by MLCC, and there's heavy fines and regulations and how that all your staff's trained, and it's not worth the value of goofing off at that because you lose, especially when it's $75,000 for a license plus annual, expenses.
What's the attendance at a place like that versus what you have right now going on?
Detroit Shipping Company, we have a 500-person capacity. We do a lot there. Weekends, it really gets busy. I hate to say, probably 200,000 people go through annually in the space.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. McHugh. Any other questions for our petitioner?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Bonjoro?
I guess I too have a concern about the back fees. How's business going over there? You guys, it looks pretty busy every time I drive by there, but.
Yeah, we bought June 4th last summer and went under our model and opened the back courts up, the sports space, the soccer space, early in October, but really didn't get our marketing and into the real segment of the sports community until March, April, right? That's when our pool opened up. So really our first year of true business, because the calendar year of the sports world starts in October. So we're really just kind of, carrying on that first year of just opening. So it's kind of slower on that level, below our expectation, but our leases that we've pulled from club sports and other third parties for the next year is really ramped up, so it's like 40% higher than the first year.
Yeah, I guess I'd be concerned, that the fees are, they're due and they're delinquent. You're gonna have to make a payment plan, but I know that a liquor license is not cheap, so you're gonna have to outlay that money to get this license. But it seems like, you're struggling to make the other payments. I guess I'd be concerned about that till we saw those fees paid up. That's my feeling though.
Yeah,
Whether or not I agree, for this or not, but I'm
Right.
in agreement with Commissioner McHugh, Smiley about that, so, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Any other questions for our petitioner?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Caramagno.
Sir, when you walk in the original lobby, you said there's a kiosk. What's the kiosk?
it's a little cafe, frontage, so you can buy, food, drink, different little things there. So it's just a cafe frontage.
So there's no kiosk availability of mixed drinks in a can or a beer out of this? If you show an ID, is there any possibility of that, or is that just
No, it'd be someone standing there at a POS system selling goods.
so it'd be a staffed person in the lobby or at the other couple
That's correct.
locations? Is there a manager that's on site all the time here?
There is now, yeah.
There is now
Yeah.
versus there wasn't before?
Our partnership was in there. We just hired a general manager to run the building.
Okay, so there'll be someone there during all business hours?
That's right.
Okay. What is tell me about the urgency to put this liquor in there now versus being stabilized to some extent, because I obviously share the same concerns with the taxes and
Sure,
and the water and the alarms not being paid. And
Sure.
so what is the urgency now? Is the urgency what is that?
Yeah, a big part of it, as I mentioned, like the dog leg in some of the lease spaces, they're reliant on that usage to come in and sign their leases. So it's part of, the contingency on my end is I have to get approval to have liquor license in the building.
So really, this license is an attractant to current tenants, future tenants.
That's correct.
And without this, are you saying this thing's in trouble?
No, not at all. We just didn't pay a few bills just because how they're capitalized our partnership group, and we're actually buying a partner out in the middle, so it's just kind of a little legal moment, so it's movement of cash is just kind of goofy. So we have the funds to move, it's just how it's all unfolding, and so it'll be done in the next 3 to 6 weeks with that, just going through that, and then I'm able to release all the funds. That's why I decided, it's like, I don't have anything set up, but.
You say just not paying a few bills. These are pretty substantial bills for the city of Livonia.
Sure.
And you're a property owner, and you're coming to us asking for something else, and you're not just paying a couple bills, and you want to move on without taking care of the prior arrangements and engagements you have. So that's troubling to me. I'd like to see you slow down on the urgency with this thing, straighten this issue up, and then come back and see us. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts, Mr. Caramagno. Any other questions or comments to our petitioner? From anyone else? There is no one else in our audience to speak for or against this, so Mr. Hartzell, I will give you a chance to have the last word before we.
Great. No, I just appreciate the time everyone puts in to these meetings, right? You get together on your time in the evening and put that forth. I'd love to have been able to say that we paid those beforehand. I just couldn't move it with my partners on whatever reasons we have going forth. The business is good, it's strong. We've got a lot of great, movement with third-party lease tenants coming through, a lot of clubs coming through. You probably, if you go on during the day, you've seen the sports camps going on. So it's really bringing back a lot of that traffic that was there before. It takes a little bit of time, but it's coming. I own 4 or 5 different businesses, and year one's generally a tough one to get through, but our partnership is very strong, very well fiscally supported. It's just, again, we have a little bit of hiccup with one of our partners we had to move on from. So don't be afraid of the business. It'll be a long-standing business in the community. We'll solve the problem of what was left in front of us with the tax bill, and we'll come back and solve it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hartzell. Of course you can, Ms.
Are you
Smiley.
trying to get more adults than any kind of, because when I first saw this, I thought this was gonna be something for children. But you're trying to lean towards more like the golf simulator and that kind of stuff. This is more of an adult athletic club kind of thing?
No, family oriented, right? Golf is, if you look at it, it's a 90,000 square foot facility,
Yeah.
right? And that's 3,000 square feet,
Yeah,
right? And the sports facilities from, 8 in the morning till about 7 at night are all youth. And then from 7 at night till 11 p.m. is adult. So if you just, start taking the different times and zones, we're just trying to be a place that you can come and congregate and entertain and have a good time, and be it that you're an adult at night, you're an adult in the simulator, or if your family coming to do other things, you can partake in that, right?
Okay. Okay, like I said, my real I don't ever remember, and I've been on the commission for quite a long time, that we had a $58,000 bill and then we approved something else, so that's gonna make me a hard no. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smiley. Any other comments? Just one question, Mr. Hartzell. The pickleball, I'm not super familiar with it, but I know it does tend to appeal toward an older audience. Is that more of an adult-oriented sport even during the day, or are there youth playing pickleball as well?
No, there's no youth in there. That's all adults, and that's really 40 and up.
Okay.
And they come 7 in the morning, and some groups leave at 10 at night.
Okay, so you
that's-
do get some daytime activity from the pickleball with adult groups.
Yeah, and then like Health Quest, that's all adults and older on the north side. Like I said, I put an office in there from a hospitality company that runs all the other businesses I mentioned, so that's a good group of young adults. And then like the simulator space, but that simulator space, as you know, would be later in the evening. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a good mix, honestly.
Good mix.
It really is a good mix.
All right, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. If there's no other questions or comments on this item, I will close the public hearing at this time, and a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a denying resolution that the request to utilize a Class C liquor license in connection with the operation of a multi-purpose recreational facility, Livonia Athletic District, at 14255 Stark Road is hereby denied for the following reasons. That the petitioner has failed to affirmatively show that the proposed utilization of a Class C liquor license at this location would comply with all the general waiver use standards and requirements as set forth in Section 3.04 and 5.02 of the Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance as amended. That the petitioner has not sufficiently demonstrated that the proposed utilization of a Class C liquor license at this location would be compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding residential neighborhoods in this area. That it has not been demonstrated that the utilization of a Class C liquor license at this location is needed for this facility to flourish. That the petitioner has failed to adequately demonstrate that the facility has the capacity to accommodate the proposed Class C liquor license, and that the utilization of a Class C liquor license at this location is contrary to the goals and objectives of the zoning ordinance, which, among other things, are intended to ensure suitability and appropriateness of uses.
Is there support?
Support?
All right, we have a motion to deny by Mrs. Smiley and support by Mr. Bonjero. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing no discussion, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. Smiley.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mrs. McHugh.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Caramagno votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye. Motion to deny has been passed. Again, to our petitioner, this is a recommendation that we make to City Council. You are requesting a waiver of use, so you will have 10 days in which to appeal this decision in writing to City Council. And if you'd like to move forward, you can make that motion, or you can make that action if you wish. So with that, that ends the public hearing section of our agenda, and we have one item left in our miscellaneous section, Mr. Secretary.
That is the approval of the 1,188th public hearing and regular meeting held by the Planning Commission on June 7th, 2022.
All right, I was just looking at those minutes, and it looks like all members were present. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'll make that motion.
All right, and is there support?
Support. Oh, lots of it.
Who did I hear first? I believe we're going to go with Betsy on that one. It was in unison, though. So we have a motion to approve by Mr. Caramagno, supported by Mrs. McHugh. If there's no objection, I think we can safely show 6. I don't hear any objections from anyone, so we'll do that. And that takes us to the end of our agenda. Is there any other business to come before the commission this evening? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make that motion again.
We'll go with Sam on that one, and
I'll
so,
approve, or I'll second.
and we'll have Carol Smiley for support on the motion to adjourn. Again, if there's no objection, I think we can safely show 6 to adjourn. And that takes us to the end of our meeting this evening. I would like to thank Livonia Television staff for bringing this meeting to our community, and we will adjourn this meeting tonight at 7:45 p.m. I wish a good night to Livonia.
think